Okay, so I don't know why we only have a very few attendants here. So actually, I'm just replaced of Ying to be in charge of tonight's event. So let's get started while I'm introducing this whole program and also the training session. At the same time, after I'm done with introducing our great guest speaker, I will be sending a reminder email for our attendants to attend today's seminar. Okay, sorry about for this situation.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
So first, let me just share this screen. Let me introduce our whole event. This is the 2021 Asian American Youth Entrepreneurship and Innovation Context. This context is organized by the International Leadership Foundation, the Yuan Media, the Girls for Business, and the Kappa MC. And my name is Tao Chen, and I'm from Kappa MC. It's my honor to host tonight's training program. We have arranged a series of 5 programs, and today's is our 4th one. And we are very honored to have our guest speaker, Qian, and he has lots of experience in investment. And we're going to hear him how investors are going to evaluate the business plan. And let me give you a brief background of Wayne. Wayne is the U.S. representative of Shenzhen Yuanrong Equity, a private equity fund specialized in TMT, the technology, media, and the telecom, healthcare, new energy industry, and also the CRO of Shanghai Daofeng Investment, a secondary market fund. Before coming to U.S., Mr. Qian served as investment director, both in well-known industry groups, as well as state-owned enterprises, such as Transfer Group, Shanshan Group, and he has managed more than 100 million US dollars, and several companies went public through IPO or merger and acquisition. These successful cases include Inner Light Technology Corporation, Western Superconducting Technology, Wenzhou Kangning Hospital. And Mr. Qian also helped invested companies to secure more funds in the follow-up rounds. And besides, Mr. Qian worked as a senior auditor in PwC China and has a solid foundation in financial projection and modeling. Mr. Qian earned his MBA from St. John's University and also bachelor's degree in economics from Shanghai Jiao Tong University. I also graduated from Shanghai Jiao Tong University. Nice to see you here. Yeah. Okay, so let's hear our honored guest speaker talking about how he see how investors evaluate the portfolios or the business plans. Thank you.
Okay. Could you please give me the host so I can share the screen?
Sure. I think I allow everyone to share, but I can definitely make you co-host.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let me share all this. Okay. So everyone, nice to meet you here at the night. Because last time they told me that what I need to do. So from my angle, I was used to be an investor, a PE investor or venture capitalist, doing something about looking at the projects every day, do the due diligence and go to the company to do the site visiting and so on. And also a lot of things to pass the project into the investment committee. And later, like I'm going to finish all the transaction and do the post investment management, something like that. So you will see a very, very busy day. And actually why I want to say something is people usually think about like things are very easy because I have my idea, I just expressed that. Then I have a very good idea. I have a very good company business model. I'm in the very, very attractive segments, and they should invest me. If they don't invest me, it's their loss, right? People are always thinking that way, and but actually things are not that easy as you think. So I saw other guests saying that okay, we provide certain kind of view that how to attract like these investors and how we do that, how we use the modeling and how we use blah and blah. But I will say that if I am the investor here, suppose I'm the investor here, but actually I am, right? So usually we will, you can get to know that how I evaluate each program and what details usually we look at instead of what you thought. Maybe what you thought is right, but I will tell you that investors may not think in your ways. You listen to some investors, their idea and their logic. And I'm very pleased that today that I can share this moment with you. So I will put here, and you will know that it's not that easy as you think, but it's not that difficult that people think, oh, that's so hard to reach. So first, let me introduce myself a little because the host just introduced a little of me. But I will say that something that I really want to share with you. I will tell you why I place certain kind of emphasis here. So I have over 10 years experience in PE and venture capital. So I once worked for Caohe Jing High Tech Park Ventures. That's a venture capital. We focus on the angel stage, seed stage, very startup companies. And also I work for Everbright Financial Holdings. I work for Transfer Group. I also work for like Shanshan Group. They're a large industrial group. Their revenue are like several billion, not billion, maybe several, I should say like several hundred billion RMB per year. The revenue really large, and they are investing in certain kind of industry. Like for Shanshan, they are in new energies. I think you all know the battery, the EV batteries. So the main part of that was manufactured by the Shanshan Group, and the Shanshan also, I think, is the top provider in this area. You all hear about like CATL. the largest battery provider, and Shanshan is actually the provider of CATL. What I focus is on TMT, healthcare, and new energies. What I want to say is, usually when you think about that, certain kind of investors, I know this guy, he is doing P, and I will through my BP to him, you put into his mail, and say, expect that someday that he or she will give you the reply. But sometimes you will find no. Why? Actually, a lot of PE funds or venture capitalists, they always focus on certain industries or certain segments. For me, like I usually focus on TMT, healthcare, and new energies. But as others, like if you want to ask me like something about like machines, something about like media, something like I'm not so familiar with, I will say, maybe I will find someone else to look at it. So if you want to attract certain kind of investors, especially those you are really interested, be sure that you know that PE or VC well, you know that the direction that this fund is investing ties with your project. This is a very important thing that you need to consider before you send these BP or something proposals or materials to these guys. They are really busy. If they are not interested or if they are not specialized in this area, they will probably you will have nothing feedback. Okay, this is one thing I want to say. And also I have cumulative portfolio management over 100 million US dollars. It seems like that a large money. I don't think so, because we will look into some large projects, usually with the revenue over several billion a year and a lot, especially for some private equity. I don't know whether you know some kind of difference between PE and the VC. It seems like they are the same. They are investing in the primary market and then send these companies to go public. And I earn money from by selling these stocks on the secondary market. This seems like they are the business model of PE and VC. It seems like they are same, but actually they are not. Venture capitalists is more focused on the early stage, and then they will sell these stocks or not stocks, their equities, their owner of the interest into the private equity. And so you can see maybe private equity focus more on the later stage of these private companies and then send these companies to go public. Or PE sometimes do something about like merger and acquisition. I find a very good company, secondary market company, but the price is not so ideal, and maybe there is something wrong with the management. So but their business model or their resources, their technologies, or their potential markets are so great. So I need to private them, let them delist, and after my merger and acquisition, after I do some adjustment, and then I put into a package, an asset package, and then let it go public later or sell to another listed companies. This is also some PE guys do. That's usually called a merger and acquisition fund. So this is a little different from PE and VC. So as for you, I do think that maybe you are talking about the startup companies. So many times you are facing with VC, these guys, and the investment scale. I mean, for each company, each project, how many will they invest are differ a lot. For example, in like PE stage, we usually invest like 50 million RMB, or that is around like 7 to 8 million US dollars, and or more, or that much. But for venture capitalists, they usually put like less, much more less. If the earlier the stage you are, the less they invest in, because they just want to diversify their portfolio, because your projects, in fact, are very risky with high risks, and the possibility that these projects go failure is high. So they just want to catch as many projects as they can, and in different tracks of these segments or several segments, and then to try to earn like through certain kind of like maybe 20% or 10% of these projects, they can earn money. So their logic is different. They look into their tracks of your business and then find the most popular, maybe 3 to 5 ones, and putting their money there. And also they will do something about the post-investment management. They will introduce some resources, technical resources, some talents to these newly invested companies, and help them to run the business, help them to introduce some marketing resources. Even, for example, I have a contract to introduce to you, because I acknowledge your technologies and maybe you are good for this company, but these companies large players don't know you. So I introduce you to these guys, and maybe you can earn some contract, and you may have that kind of business, and your financial condition will improve a lot after you get this kind of business. So it's very interesting that a venture capitalist take very many times, a lot of times in that, and but not only look at your BP. Your BP is only very small part of their daily work. So we have done a lot in the light in this one, going to the Shanghai Asia market. The ticker is 300308. I did that company. I earned like 10 times revenue from this project. And Wenzhou Kangning Hospital is also a mental health care company in China. Actually, it's the largest private-owned company or hospital doing some mental care. So recently, they are also trying to go public in China, in the stock market. And Western superconducting technologies are very interesting. This is the first company that I start my private equity business. This is the first company I invest in, and very lucky, I should say. This company then went to the stock market like 3 or 4 years ago. Very interesting, and they have a lot of story there, but I will share it later. And some companies here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but actually I have more. Some companies are waiting to be listed. I introduced something of that, and you have an idea, a brief idea what an investor usually do. To be a little specific, we can see from the daily work, the working load, what an investor usually do. So we work like 6 to 8 hours a week. You know, the standard working hour is usually 40 hours for a week. But for us, we don't have the time to rest. Actually, we are on the way to our projects, or the back way from our customers to the office. And usually we have several places to be commonly seen. One is like the airport, the train station, the company's office, and I don't think our home or our bed is the place that usually can be seen. We can be seen here. So very tough work, and you have meet with different people. You need to understand different industries. So actually, every day you work from once your eyes open, and until that you have no idea what's going on to do, and you are so tired. Usually the working load is that hard, but it's very exciting because you can meet different people. You can see many prospecting futures. For example, some new industries. So it's very interesting. Like for example, one day in the morning, you met some with AI companies, and in the afternoon you find very interesting guys talking about like robots, automation. And in the evening, suddenly someone came in to say, "Hey, guy, I do think that we can do some cooperation. Like I have some kind of cryptocurrency, and we have the ecosystem to let this work. We are not just mining. We are not doing the BTC, but we are doing something that to help to increase the efficiency of our society." And so on. Very many new stories and many new informations. Very exciting every day. But we have to do a lot, because every day almost you have 5 to 10 BP every day to look at. The first time you goes into the office, you look at your laptop and find a bunch of emails in your box. and some with BP, some the comment from your boss, some from the agenda from your assistant telling you that you need to do something this week and today, any arrangements by other guys and so on. So very crazy day, but very interesting day. And after that, you need to do some research, because people are always saying that my job is good, my idea is right, and look at my business model, it will be attractive. And I heard thousands of times saying that I'm the Alibaba in Southeast Asia, or something like, oh, I'm the Tencent in the Middle East. And so every day I heard that story a lot. So you need to look at what happens. You need to learn the industry, the geographic market, the demographic market, and everything that associated with this program. And after learning all this, you have made a decision. Maybe I need to take a further look at that. But like 60 or 80% of the projects, you say, oh, just leave that. I'm not going to take a look, because there's some weakness or there is something wrong with their business model or logic. I will say logic in the following minutes. And then we will go to the company to have a talk with the senior management there, to take a look at their plans, to take a look at their laboratory, to check with some experts in this area to see whether their technologies are right, whether their paths are right, whether the trends of the market is right. So we do a lot of things, finding a lot of interesting people, experts, to know what happens to the company, to know whether we are right, we are on the right direction. So later we have after we all determine that we are going to carry forward, so this company may be attractive. So we will do the CDD plus FDD plus LDD. That is commercial due diligence, financial due diligence, and legal due diligence. Commercial due diligence is something really about like we look into the upstream, we look at the downstream, we look at the competitors of the company, and so on. So we need to understand all about this company. At least after the project, we may also be an expert in this area from the third party angle. But actually, we know we're not the expert. But rather, we need to know something very critical. Even we don't know the exact details of certain area, but still we need to know what is most important and what's the trend, what is the main questions that we need to be solved. So this is CDD, and then financial diligence, doing about like dealing with the financial statements to see whether we have the right time, whether the company reflects the right operation results. Any frauds there, any cheats there? Is their revenue real? How we evaluate their margin rate? How we find their futures? I mean, like financial projections we need to do to predict like 3 to 5 years future income statement, cash flow of the company, to see to become the foundation of our evaluation of the company. And LDD is usually about the legal things, the contract, the patents, any user rights, some land use rights, some IP, and something like that. So after all these due diligence, if we find everything is acceptable, I mean the risks are acceptable. If we found that everything we can do is good, then we will submit our proposal of the investment to the investment committee to let them know, this is a good project, and are you going to invest? Are you going to take a look at that? Are you going to further help the company? So this will be after we pass the investment committee, and then we go to the negotiation with the company that we are going to invest. So it usually about how many shares do we have? What is the valuation of your company? Any like terms of to protect the investors. For example, I will argue that if you want to pay a lot on the capex exceeding certain amount of the money, then you must let me know and get my approval. And we also sometimes we have the bet on your operations results. For example, you say your company is very prospecting, and you can promise that I have the revenue for next year is what amount. What about the next year and the year after next? So we have the bet that if you don't finish the goal, we will try to adjust the valuation. That means maybe I will take back some kind of money, or I will take more shares from you. So very interesting that it's a kind of negotiation, and then we do the so-called post-investment management after we finally invest into that company. So you will see that for these guys, I mean for investors, they have very limited times to look at your BP, to look at your story, because they are so busy. There are a lot of things to think about. So actually, you have only 10 to 15 minutes to persuade an investors to move forward. I mean, the first second that they look at your BP, they look at your story, usually you have only 10 to 15 minutes or even 5 minutes. And because like me, I only give 5 minutes to these guys to say, hey, I will look at that. If it doesn't look well, I will just deny that. I will just leave them alone. So just to be cautious that once you are trying to get the right investor, if you keep in touch with that guy and they are in the right direction that your company is located. So if you want to attract these guys, prepare yourself well and try to persuade this guy in 10 to 15 minutes. So it's a hard task, and you need to let them know that why your company is so interesting. So here is the logic of that. Because these guys have never met you before, and they have no idea about your story. So the first idea that they get know about yourself, about you, is and your team, your ideas only from the BP, the business plan. The business plan. It seems I think you have learned something about how to write the BP or what is BP composed of, but actually the BP only occupies 3 main aspects. You just persuade the investor in 3 questions. The 3 questions, it seems like very easy, but after reading all this, you will see not so easy. But just to make it easy, we'll make it simple. There are 3 questions. Why you are in this industry or segment, why you want to indulge yourself or your team into this industry or segment, why it's attractive. And the second question is, okay, since the industry and the segment is so attractive, there are a lot of competitors or potential entrants there. So why I choose you? Just give me the reason why I choose you instead of others. So you need to provide certain kind of like advantages, why there are advantages from your view, from your stand, instead of why why we not choosing other people, right? So this is one thing that we need to tell the investors. And then the third question, okay, you have the right directions and you have the good strategy, and there maybe you have the advantage in certain area. The advantages may differ a lot according to case by case. So what will you do? What are your strategies? So that is also associated with why we choose your company, because you should let us know that your strategy works. Your strategy is logic, is consistent, right? And also we will also know that the strategy is just like a blueprint. It's like a picture, a map. But how you did it, how you can make it, there is a lot of details in the operation. Just give me some idea and give me your details, how you can guarantee that your operation are prospecting. The possibility that you will succeed or will be high. Give me the reason why I will trust you, right? So you need to have some kind of evidence. You need to persuade these guys, right? So if we just make it a little broad or more details, so it occupies a lot of aspects, but mainly about like, what is your insight into the market? Any pain points of the market? Because a lot of people, I have find some kind of opportunity because I saw people lack something, but the market doesn't provide. Okay, this is the pain points that we find, and also we will understand your rivals. Sorry. I lost something. Yeah, the insight into market, and also include that how we deal with that, how we address the problem. For example, in the very old days, I mean, like in 1990s, around that in China, so people just purchase offline. No one think about online. We are talking about story of Alibaba. So Alibaba solved a lot of problems, but when they submit their BP, there are also a lot of problems to be solved, like how you finish the transaction, how you finish the payment, because we can sell something online, but at that time, there is no Alipay. There is no third-party payment. How I can finish the transaction, how I can finish the pay, how we can guarantee that we are safe both with goods and both in goods and both in the cash or money. So there are a lot of problems to do, and they need to solve all these problems. So you need to know what's the pain points of the market and how you address these points. And also, if you raise some kind of procedures or ways that you can solve the problem, are there any further question raised by these the procedures you are going to launch? Will there be anyone? Of course you will. So you need to think very carefully about these problems. How can these problems be solved? And also, of that, your ideas, right? The market pain point is there, and what you are doing is actually doing well to address these problems. So then you need to know that if there are rivals, if there are potential entrants, do you have the high moats to prevent others from copying you, from competing with you? Very cutting through one. So do you have any moat, something that you really have the advantage? So you need to understand of your rivals, the market structure, how many players are there, how many people are there, and what their strategies are, and what you are going to deal with the problems, deal with the challenges. So you need to understand the market, understand of your rivals, and that also help you to improve your strategies. So we have the target market, we have the rivals there. We know who they are, we know what the problems they are, and we know where the challenges are. So can we find certain kind of strategies to overcome all these difficulties? And can we improve our business model to make us not so easy to be defeated, so easy to be copied, right? So you need to find your strategies and the business model. So how you find these strategies and how you use this model, there's a lot of tools, and we will explain later. And then the fourth part will be operation. You know that operation seems like very details, and always people will think about, like, I will try to persuade the investors. So, hey, I have very good idea, I have very good strategies, but strategy is also on the air. So you need to think that any details, any practical things, for investors, I don't like, I like good story, but I don't want only the story. I just want to something concrete, something that I can participate in, or something that I can control, I can monitor, I can help you to finish your goal. So it's very important that you think carefully about the operation. If your company or projection is about something, about manufacturing, about like technologies, about people, about everything, that there are 6 critical cycles in a company, like what revenue, how you make the revenue, how you attract these customers, the manufacturing, how you produce and how you guarantee your raw materials, and how you guarantee all your technologies keep updated, and also purchase some key parts, some raw materials, how you guarantee they are stable, how you can have the high bargaining power, strong bargaining power against these suppliers. So you need to think about these 3-1, and also there are inner 3-1, like we have the HR department, we have the financial department, we have the R&D team, right? Why they are also important? How I can guarantee that they work, they function correctly in our company, and R&D will help us to improve our technologies, keep our technologies updated, and R&D. This is R&D, and for HR, some people will say, oh, HR only, like I provide some payment of your salaries, and I help you to do some fighting, something like that. But it's wrong. It's wrong. It's the basic function of HR. But for HR part, you need to find the right person, and also you need to set a package, I mean, incentives to let these guys to work for you with passion. And even at that time, you don't need to pay a lot on the salaries. How you can do that? Maybe ESOP can help. We'll talk ESOP later. And then we have the financial projection, because we have all this from strategies to operations, from every details. Then we will know that how many money do we have, how many resources do we have, how we can use these funds in the use of funds. How many, like, I will pay the raw materials, how many I'm to hire experts, how many I will put into the marketing promotion, and so on. So you need to make it very clear, carefully and details into all this, the whole plan. And also your goal, or what you are going to tell the investor, is the operation result is right. And you can see after your investment with my business model, with my operations, we can see we earn how many money, or we can say we have how many clients here, how big is the customer base, and what operation indexes, key KPI, something I can reach. So this all can be reflected from the financial projections, because we have the revenue estimation, what is the gross margin, what's the trend of these ratios, and how many cash flow we have, free cash flow from operation, and so on. And only after that will the investor consider, because if you only tell about the stories, these investors, good story, but just let me know, persuade me to invest in you, tell me how many can you earn, or what performance can you get, and so will attract me to invest you. So that will be the outcome of all your business. And we all know that you don't tell just a good story, just to prove it through the financial statements, through the cash that you earn, or revenue, or in net income you earn. So that will be it seems like a loop that contain everything, and everything is associated with other sectors, other parts. So that's something, a logic from the very beginning to the end, and it finally become a loop. Okay, this is what I'm going to say about the BP, that you need to focus that the BP, it seems like maybe 20 or 30 pages. I strongly recommend that you don't have too many pages, but because we are so busy, we don't want to look at so many pages. We just make it, I just want you to express your idea, your story, your logic concisely and precisely. So just remember that, like, usually we don't make it exceeding like 20 pages, usually, or 20 slides of your PPT. This is what usually we will look at. So that's a whole story, and that's the logic of the BP. I would come into another page. So there are several tips for you if you want to have a good BP. Don't try to start very quickly, because you need to think very comprehensively. You need to consider all the logic, consider the details to make it full, to make it consistent, and everything in logic. And also don't try to pile a lot of information on that. Don't try to do a lot of like BCG models or any business canvas on that. We are not doing some consulting papers. We are just telling the story. You try your best words and the most simple words to let the investor know what you are going to do and what your advantages are. And also the fourth one, very common, but also very, very important, is that your details may determine. Don't do something with typo, error. Look at the format, look at your font, look at your characters, and something like to be identical, to be unified, and don't make any very, very low-level mistakes, I would say. Don't make error, because investor will think your business is a large projection. Actually, it involves a lot. But if you even cannot do well in your BP, a very important one to be submitted to us, even you at that time, you don't check very carefully about your BP, So how will we think your team? Are you reliable? Are you capable of finishing all these challenges, to overcoming all these obstacles? We will cast doubt on that. So don't forget all these details. So if you submit your BP, before submitting, try to look very carefully of that to delay all these very low level mistakes. Okay, so there are several tools that help you to think. So we talk about a lot. For usually in a BP, there are something about the industry, the trend, the main the pain points, and how you address that. And know your rivals, know the market structures, and so on. And also sometimes if we talk about some high-tech projects, especially with some very cutting edge, or we say the black technologies. So you need to think about what status your technologies are, and is that suitable for that? Is that at the right stage to be commercialized? So you need to think about that. And also there are a lot of for companies operations strategies and a lot of things. You can also use the models. And then as for the display of your operation results, the financial modeling and valuation, something like that, you need also have a very solid foundation of accounting and modeling, especially financial modeling. This is why also I put in self-introduction about information about I once worked in PwC China, because it's really very important that if you want to convince these investors, you must have a business model, not only the business model, but also a very good-looking financial statements of projections. If you don't even have an idea about what the accounting statements are and what you need to pay attention, and if there are something logic, I mean the logic of the company is contradicted with your financial statements, it's wrong. For example, if you are trying to attract these investors and you say, hey, I have a very good project, a good product with high technologies to help to solve the problem of unmet demands in the market, and then later you find like, oh, maybe 2 or 3 in the 2 to 5 years prediction of your project, it seems like your gross margin rate is declining. Why? You need to think about, if your gross margin rate is declining, is that because what's wrong with your project? What's wrong with your product? If there is some weakness in your product, why the gross margin rate is declining? So you need to think about that, to look at the trends, look at all these financial data ratios to see whether they match with your logic. So there are a lot of things recap. In accounting, we say recap. That means there's a clue, there are evidences that you can combine all these together to see whether they are in the same direction. If they are contradicted, there must be something wrong. So you need to think about that. So we talk about a lot of tools. For example, in the industry, I think everyone knows Porter's 5 forces. But also I will introduce, like, you need to think about like industry life cycle. I use this model or use the past. I will not further explain here because of very limited time. And also think about the rivals, think about the marketing. You need to have the idea about what is the market concentration of that. How many people are there? What are the top 5 players market share? If it's highly concentrated, how you can deal with that? If there are a lot of players there, how you can help to build your moat and how you can obtain the market share very quickly. This is where you are going to think. And there are also industry structure. For example, are there monopoly? I don't think in modern world there is a lot of scenario about monopoly, but you will see a lot of like monopolist competition. You will met with oligopoly. I think this will be the most commonly seen scenario in marketing structures. And also like if there is highly competitive market where you think you are going to enter in, maybe not, right? So as for the technologies, Usually we use the Gartner quadrant and the hype cycle, both from the Gartner company. And this company is like a consulting company. It usually published some very I think it's like insight into the trends of certain technologies, like for AR, VR, like for the AI, machine learning, something like that. You can search a lot of like Gartner quadrants of very detailed technologies or markets and so on. So you also need to use these kind of tools if you are doing something about the high technology things. And also for companies analysis, we usually use the business canvas. And if we want to compete with others, we usually will think like the repetitive game theory to see what they are going to respond to our strategies. So what will our response to their response to our strategies, how we can compete with them. So there's something about the game theory, but game theory is a little, I should say, about theory, but for practice, there are a lot of limitation, I need to say, because of the very limited information that you can obtain from your rivals. It's not so transparent in a lot of industries or especially for some new business. And then you need to think about 6 critical cycles I have mentioned, the outside 3-1 and the inner 3-side 1. And you need to think very carefully about how you deal with these departments, what their function, and what are the most critical among these 6 to you, and how you cope with the problems or risks that you are going to face. And then for the financial modeling and evaluation, you need to think about like DCF model. I think you need to have a very solid base of the financial statements, and then you can use the DCF model. So to be honest, a lot of people, they are not graduate from accounting. They don't have the experience in accounting and modeling. So they usually use the comparative valuation. That's like the secondary market. A lot of people use PE ratios, PS ratios, something like that. But actually, I will highly recommend that you do some DCF model, because in comparative valuation, you just only look at the income statement, but how you get certain kind of money and the funds to support you. And there is a lot of like items that will occupy or have a drain on your cash flow, like inventories, like the accounts receivable. They all occupies your cash flow. You know, a drain on cash flow will make you bankrupt. So just very carefully to do the planning. So you'd better use the DCF model to look at the cash flow, to look at the cash flow from operations. That's the most important thing. More important than the net income in your income statement. So then let's say if you're lucky enough to be picked by an investor, that means the investor actually at that stage you're quite successful. You're quite successful, because I usually pick like 1 or 2 from the 10 BP that I received, because I don't want to waste time on too many so-called immature projects. So if you are lucky to be picked by an investor, just to get yourself well prepared, what to prepare. Usually, I will, if I look at the BP, then I invite these guys here. I will not let the FA, the financial advisors, to introduce the projects. I will only invite the founder of this company or the leader of the team to here to say, hey guys, please just explain your story to me. Give me some introduction of your idea and so on. So actually, it doesn't mean that I don't look at your stories. I hadn't look at your ideas, but actually I already know what you are going to talk. But after the observation, actually I'm observing you. I'm looking at you to see whether you are logic, whether you can express clearly, whether you have very clear mind. So I will let you to introduce yourself, introduce your program, to introduce your idea, to introduce your strategies. I will check whether you are logical one, whether you are capable of dealing all these problems, and whether you can be the leader, you can hold all the project with you, you can finish that maybe in the future. So I'm looking at you through this kind of opportunity. So if you are lucky enough to be picked up by an investor, just prepare 10 minutes brief of your business plan and explain that very simple and very clearly and logically and so on. So it's very important. And also, don't think that it's like I'm submitting something to my professor. I'm not your professor. I don't have the duty to clear all this, to look at that, give you feedback. But you need to think like it's a very good opportunity to communicate with the expert. Why? I'm going to say that the investor here, they actually are the experts in this area. Just like I said, they look into the whole segment, all the tracks, they know much clearly than you did, you know. They know everything. They know a lot of other people, other teams are doing, while you don't know your rivals, but the investors may have contact with many of your rivals. They know what the companies are doing. They know what their strategies. So it's a very good opportunity if you can talk with the investor. Try to let the investor tell you what's their feedback, what's their concerning, what they're thinking about this industry, about the trends. So actually, it's a very good time you learn from this guy. You get some more information from this guy about the industry, about the trends in the future. So it's a good opportunity. Don't try only to say, hey, I'm going to submit something. It's the task I after my blah blah blah, then I go home and I'm going to wait until the result is coming. No, it's a good opportunity to find a friend there, find one expert there, try to communicate with this guy and get the feedback from this guy. Okay, and then the third part will be know your team very well. I would say, we have team, we have 3 or 4 or even 5 people. We all know because why we want to do that. After our very serious consideration, we put everyone here, but it's not enough. It's actually not enough, because you only have some idea about very on the surface. You don't work very long time. So a lot of investors, they will not agree or to move forward. Sometimes they even say, hey, well, let's just keep in touch. And because in China, when I have the projects I'm really interested in, it's very good one, very good technology, very prospecting futures. But what I will think most important is that people there, whether the company is successfully will be successful in the future, depends a lot on the people, the member, the core members there, whether they are reliable, whether they are honest, whether they are I should say preservative, whether they are so I should not say tough guy, you know how to say in English, resilient guy, right? Resilient guy. And so I usually like, hey guy, let's play basketball. So I watch him, I look at him, I will look at these guys to see, hey, after like 3 months or 2 months watching, I will know that this one is really good, how this guy is treating others, how is this guy on the society, does this guy really have the social responsibility. I will see whether this guy will be responsible for the company, whether this guy will be lead the whole team to the goal that they set. So I need to know your team very well. Even the investor will want to know whether your team member are well, are good, you know these guys enough. Why not you to put some time to know each of your members? What are these guys' characters? Do they have certain kind of merits, or do they have some weakness from there? If they have something common, a weakness in common, so you need to rethink about that. Whether these guys, whether you need to find someone else to replace or to be supplement of your team. So you also need to think about all this. Sorry. So I would say we are talking about your team members, and there is a lot of things about team members, how you to think about it. because a lot of people don't think it's very important, but actually it is, because you are the one that are going to make the goal finished, while other technologies, you can find someone, you can find some, even you can purchase some technologies outside. But for your team members, if there is something wrong with your certain department, there may be a failure, a deadly failure for your company. So you need to choose the person very carefully, and also to evaluate everyone carefully. And also in this page, I will set the most important thing is how you distribute your interest in this company. You usually think about like we are working together. So when talk about the shares, like how many % you are going to earn the company, a lot of people try to do evenly. That means, oh, we all attribute a lot to the companies. We are all very important. So like we have 5 people there, then everyone earns like 20% of the company's share or the interest. If that happened, I would say like 99% you will fail. Why? Because it's too even. You know that everyone will contribute differently in the future. And also if your shares are distributed very evenly, so if there are disputes, if you cannot come to an acknowledgement of your goal, of your targets, then how you can deal with that? And these guys will say, hey, I have the 20%, and the other guys, hey, I have another 20%. Suppose you have 6 person there, and each one have like 1/6 of all these shares. So 6 agree, 6 disagree. So you have the 50% to 50%. Have to have how you make the decision, how you can move forward. So actually, you need to find someone, a leading one, at least have like 51% of the I should say the absolute control of the company. So it's very important that you need to do that. And also you need to set aside like 10 to 15% as an ESOP. That means the incentives to your guys, to some core members, to say, hey, maybe later, if these guys really work very well, and I will grant him some kind of options. I will grant him some kind of shares to incentive these guys to work closely with me, to prevent him from quitting from my company. Because it's easy that other people just say, hey, what's your pay, monthly pay or annual salary? I double, come to my office, come to my company. But with these shares, it's different, because you are the owner of the company. If you work well with your company, and your company is making very good progress, and your shares will be very valuable in the future. So people will think, if I leave, it means I will abandon, I will give up all these interests. It's not rational to leave the company. So actually, you combine all these people, you make these people to combine together with your company, to work very closely. So it's very important about the share setting, the share distribution. You need to think about that. And also for the team culture, I also need to mention that you need to know that a culture is very important. So far, if you are just a team, it's a group of people, like 6 or 5 people. But for the future, in the future, you have a people. You have the people, maybe 100 or even 1,000. There's the company. If all these people, they are lacking of something about spirit, they are progressive, whether they are progressive, or if they are also conservative, if they are so prudent, and they say, oh, I'm not going to try, I'm not going to run the risk, I'm afraid of assume certain kind of liabilities and something. Oh, no, I will not do that. So how will this company go in the future? Will the company expand very quickly? No. So in Huawei, actually, I don't completely agree with Huawei, but for Huawei, there is a spirit of wolves. Everyone work like a wolf, that they fight very fiercely, then they try to involve some contest and the internal contest to let everyone to give out their power to make them to work very diligently and so on. So maybe I'm not so completely agree with this idea, but I'm surely to say that a team culture is very important for your team and your future companies to work, whether whether they can succeed or not. It really depends a lot. So you need to before startup, you need to set up a core, set up I should say the internal conference to let others all know we have the acknowledgement on our team culture, what we are going to say, what we are going to do, and how we are going to fight with these difficulties, with our rivals, with our internally or externally. So this is what your team counts. And okay, then we have the financial projection. And because financial projection, as I said, it's a recap with strategies, operation, and use of funds. Because of very limited time, I'm not going to say all this, but they are the combination of your financial conditions, financial planning, and your objects, your strategies, and your operations, details, plans. Everything is connected together. So make sure that they are all recapped, they are all in the same direction, and manage your team, manage your money, manage all the future very wisely and rationally. This is what I want to say. Then let me see. That's the here I will say usually when you talk about the fundraising, BP usually in the last part or the last but one part, it's about the use of funds or how many shares you are going to give up to the investors to attract them to have the money in, to have the money invested in. So usually people will think, the more money, the better, but actually it's not. For angel round and pre-A round, usually you will give up usually no more than 20%. If you diluted your shares too much, so what will be the next round? For example, I have a company. I'm trying to invest, but later finally I gave up. It's a company doing something about the battery, EV battery. They are the core supplier of CATL. CATL also admit that your products and your technologies are really great, but I'm not going to invest in that company. Why? Because this company is located in Anhui province in China, and the local government funds at the angel round, they invested like 40%, occupied 40% of the company. I would say, oh well, they get 40% for only the angel round. So if another round, A round, B round, any other rounds, then your share will be diluted below like 40 or even lower that share. So how you can control a company? How you can argue with these investors? Because sometimes investors doesn't always give the right answer, give you the right choice. They will prevent you from certain kind of strategic goals, because these investors usually they are short-sighted. They will focus on how many money can I learn and can I earn, and how long will you go public? Because in China you have certain kind of criteria like the revenue and like the net income. So after you meet all these criteria, then your company can go public. So they will say, if you try to do something strategical, if you are successful, that's fine. But if you fail, then there will be a large impact on my net income. The company may not go public soon. So they will say, no, you cannot do that, right? So in this case, you need to think that investors may not be always right. Sometimes there will be the obstacles on your road. So when you try to introduce these guys into your company, so how many shares you give up to them? Usually no more than 20%, just to be remember. Usually, okay. This is what the key parts I want to say about the valuation and the finance. Then if you want to have more information or more detailed like sections, maybe next year or sometimes later this year, and maybe we can have certain kind of section about how to do the BP, how to do the industrial analysis, how many useful tools are, and how we can use that, how we find these data, how we find these trends. And also you need to know how to build your team, your allocation of your team, and so on. And also a lot of details about the operation, about the evaluation, about everything that involved in the business plan and your future operations. So if you have time, if we have the opportunity, maybe we will later have this kind of a series of sections. Okay, that's all for today. Any questions, please let me know, and don't hesitate to give me a buzz if you have further comments or have further questions. This is my Hotmail, and you can find me through this email. And if you have questions, I'm very busy, but I'm very glad if I receive someone, and I will reply you as soon as possible. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wayne. And today, since we have a very close group here, you can just unmute yourself to ask questions. So you can just or unmute yourself and ask questions.
Don't hesitate to ask questions.
Right. Let me get started. Hi, thank you, Wayne, for a great introduction of how you as an investor are going to evaluate the business plan. So it looks like because you are occupied by many of these business proposals, and you are only going to select just a few of them.
Yes.
What kind of things that is going to attract your attention when you pick one or two from the 10 proposals you receive every day?
So usually I will look at the format first. If it doesn't look good, I mean, sometimes a lot of people like to pile a lot of words there. I will just delete them directly because I don't want to see so many words, so many wording. If your idea is good, you need to polish them and make it very concisely and precisely. If you are giving me a bunch of wording to read, no, I will deny that. This is the first thing. The second thing is don't try to make it something about like designing or some advertisement. A lot of people give me a lot of like pictures, videos, and to show everything. Hey, I'm not your customers. I'm not going to consume on your products. I just want to know how you're going to do that, how you to make the market and how you make successful. Don't do the promotion on me because I'm not your consumers, right? This is the second thing. The third thing is we usually have very you need to have very clear logic. I mean, what happens? That's 3 dimensions. Why this segment? Why this industry? The first one, let me know. And the second idea, I will say, why your company? Just prove me any advantages you have, any ideas that you can outstand from all your rivals, your potential entrants. And the third one is how you can going to do that. There's a lot of aspects in your operation, so you need to know very carefully about each department you are going to have, and what the functions, what the task 1, task 2, task 3, and so on. And actually the most important thing will be I will look into your financial statements to look at your projections to see if you are not confident in your future. For example, you give me a financial statements of a futures 3 to 5 years, not that good. If you are not confident about future of yourselves, how can you let me to introduce you? How can I let me rely on you, right? So I would not deny something very progressive, aggressive, but I will look at the idea about your logic to see your financial statements prediction to see whether that match your logic, and let me see how many you may earn. Maybe something exaggerate. Too many of them I don't think will be reliable, but I will also I'm an audit guy. previously. I know what happens, and I will try to have my business modeling, and I will say, what's the valuation of that? And I look at the secondary market, if the P ratio or something still make me think it's a profit. It's a profit project. I will take a further look at it. If it's not that profitable, I mean, like you raise money, you tell me that you want a P ratio of 15 times. But when I look into the secondary market, the market average is 20 times. So I only have like 33% of the growth potential. I would say, no, I will not invest in that company, right? It's not so attractive. So I will look into the idea, very good prospecting one, but not so expensive one, right? So that will be, I will evaluate finally based on how many I can earn from this project, and also whether this company is easy to successful. I mean, I will look many dimensions, like from the business idea, the logic, and also your team. The team are very important. I will look into the team very carefully and know every core members there. Only after that will I invest in that company. Yeah.
Okay, so do we have any questions from the audience?
I think there's one here. Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone.
I'm a very curious person. I can ask many questions, but I
Okay,
really want
welcome.
to. I really want to have our, participants and the audience to ask questions.
Okay.
Okay, so can I? So, well, if you don't want to ask questions, you can also type in the chat room if you feel like it.
Oh, you can help them to answer to ask questions.
Okay, so you also mentioned that the allocation of the interest is a very important evaluation criteria. So
Yes.
what do you think, or normally when people go through these different rounds of securing funds, dilute of the interest, what do you normally see as the proportion of the interest allocation?
Okay. For example, for the pre-A and from angel round, it's around, like, I will give up. Usually the team will, give up no more than 20%. And usually they have like angel round and then pre-A, A round, B round, C round, and etc. So they will dilute it, of course, one round by one round. So in the very beginning, you don't expect to dilute too much, because you have sacrificed your potential in the future. So 20% is usually the percentage each round will have, like usually 10% to 20%.
In each round.
Yeah.
And how many rounds typically do you need to go through in order to go public?
It depends on the industry. For example, if you are doing something about, like, if it's a money burning industry, like the shared bike, like
bike sharing, yes.
Yeah, like something like that. And also like some e-commerce, a lot of e-commerce still lost money even after they go public, like SE, right? Like the Jumia and so on, right? They are still losing money. So for these kind of companies, they usually have I really need to say a lot of rounds, from like F round, G round, and a lot of them. Yeah. But for others, for some like B2B companies, I'm dealing with other large companies, and I provide certain kinds of solutions. And for this company, I usually develop a very, I should say, intrinsically. I mean, they don't need to raise money outside. Why they raise money? Just because they want to attract these famous investors to guarantee, to let the secondary market investors, these retail investors to know that, oh, Hill House invest in that. Oh, SoftBank invest in that company. That's reliable. We will like it, right? So they just introduce these guys to help them to be reliable, to be trustable. And also these guys, I mean, some very famous PE, they do have some kind of, I mean, relations, resources with the SEC or Chinese certain kind of government that really help to solve the problem, especially like in China. You know, in China, it's not something about like register. It need to be approval by the regulators. So these guys will say, hey, if an investor, they do have the relationship with the senior officers in the regulators, that will help a lot, right? So they have different purpose to raise money. Sometimes people will just think they just want to collect money, but actually may not. They don't lack money, but what they are lacking is some kind of resources. So they want to combine these very key persons into this team and help them to go public or even further fundraising in the second market very smoothly. This is what their purpose are.
Okay, so thank you so much for all these questions and answers, and also all the insights you provided in the in the presentation.
Yeah, my honor to share all this information to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And you also have a plan for launching more introductions about in this whole series.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we'll see like what is the next opportunity to collaborate.
I'm thinking whether we have the chance to have the series very detailed sections for all these key
right. So this is a lot more like investment course.
Curriculum, yes, right. You are right.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So in the interest of time, thank you. We're going to just end this session here. Thank you so much for being with us and spending all your precious time with us. This probably cost you some time reading a few business proposals.
Doesn't matter, because I just secured the two.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Beth, for coming.